Once upon a time, there was a new crossover that refused to play by the rules. It flipped the script and made all the others look like fools. Featuring styling that's sexier by far and handles like a rock star. Introducing the first ever Toyota CHR.
Enjoy agile handling in the body of a seductive crossover that comes with standard 18-inch alloy wheels. The first ever Toyota CHR. The perfect ride to spin your own tail. Toyota. Let's go places.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are here tonight to discuss one of the most important stories that's happened in the DC era more recently, which is DC's Flashpoint. Here we have a story that pretty much was the end cap to the DC universe that I grew up to know and love, and a lot of other people did as well. So it's fairly recent. This is one of those events. I put events in quotes because a lot of people were probably getting either tired or have reached the apex of just all these events that they kept hitting us with over and over and over. Or this might have been the beginning of us getting tired. I could tell you that much when DC's Flashpoint hit. And there's a key word in there that is part of a key phrase in Flashpoint, and that's flash. So if you can figure it out, if you haven't read the story yet already, clearly it revolves around DC's Flash. So joining me tonight, you know the crew we've been on here for the past few weeks. It's Ronnie Adams, He-Man Ronnie Adams.
He's the Lorax for the trees.
He does indeed speak for the trees. Ronnie Adams, which Police Academy did you watch last night?
None of them.
I asked you to come on my show. You start lying. All right, whatever.
Oh, my gosh.
And, of course, Mark Radulich, how do you do, sir? Superman 3. Are you guys going to stop there? Are you going to show Lily Superman 4?
No, there's no reason to abuse my child. I will eventually show her the original Superman and the Donner cut of Superman 2 when she's older and through a movie without asking me questions like, is this the good part?
Yes. Oh, man.
She has the entire run of Superman 3, didn't she?
Are we getting to the good part yet, Dad?
Is this a good
there
part?
were a couple of times where I was just like, hey, Lily, because she was playing with Legos while we were watching. And I was like, hey, like the drunken hacking scene, I was like, you have to, I actually called my wife out of the watch too. I was like, everyone stop what you're doing and watch Richard Pryor freaking drunken hack the Vulcan satellite. My mother-in-law was actually talking to my wife at the time. And I was like, everyone shut up, including you, Ma.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
The Philly Flash.
That's how fights get started.
We actually watched Superman Returns and Superman 3 tonight.
Oh, wow. All right. That's not in any order particular, but...
Why do you hate your family?
I think Superman Returns is research, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And Superman 3 was just punishment or something. I don't know.
Superman 3. I would rather watch Superman 3 than Raw.
We have to cleanse our palate. Put in Superman 3. What the heck?
Well, so we're talking tonight a DC property, DC's Flashpoint, as I said. Let's go ahead. We'll talk. Mark, I ask you this every time. We chose this book. Are we tying this in? Because I know there's a couple other things that seem related that we're talking about this week, but anything particular that stood out to you why you wanted to talk about this right now?
Well, I'll tell you what we're not doing. We ain't talking about fucking Dark Universe, The Mummy, starring Tom Cruise. No, sir.
Not happening.
Dan U. Hollywood is taking a 1-week hiatus because I can't bring myself, and neither could Robert Winfrey. Neither one of us could bring ourselves to go see The Mummy. That looks like a big pile of shit. Even by summer blockbuster comparison, even by Superman 3 comparison.
Oh wow,
it's just terrible. So rather than just week off, we're going to do a TV party for Flash season 3, and Flash season 3 was basically subtitled Flash. So that's time.
All right. Well, this was a pretty big event. I know this thing had a ton of tie-in issues Yeah, it says here, it's a 2011 comic book crossover story arc published by DC Comics consisting of an eponymous core limited series and a number of tie-in titles. The storyline premiered in May of 2011. So now our creators here, Jeff Johns, very popular writer. A lot of people recognize him from many titles, and I think starting with Green Lantern Rebirth, I believe that he was part of that, wasn't he, Mark? Is that Jeff Johns? And the penciler, oh man, this is a name that I recognize from the 90s, but I can't remember if I appreciated his brother. I think his brother's name's Adam, and then we have Andy Kubert. The Kubert name's been around for quite a while, but I've always appreciated any art that, I think there's another Kubert, like Joe. I think it's Joe Kubert. Well, let me just say, I've always been a fan, and this series right here does not change my mind in any way. Beautiful art. So, okay, these are two heavy hitters coming at you from DC, bringing this huge crossover. And actually what had went into it, this is the ending, like I said, of the DC universe. So they had to weave a tale before, I'm going to say it, the New 52 had to happen. Yeah, a lot of bad taste in a lot of people's mouth with the New 52. But this is where a lot of legacy stuff ended, and now we're going to go into a new era of DC Comics. But what a great story we have to tell you guys tonight. So let's talk real quick. Let's do some basics. Ronnie, would you want to do your best to try and describe Barry Allen, the Flash, what his power set is, and what you know of this guy?
Pig bun fast.
Barry One fast. Thanks, Mark. Barry Allen. Barry Allen is the superhero known as the Flash. He was a forensic scientist for the police, and I guess you could say kind of a what's the word I'm looking for?
I have no idea.
A do nothing. People viewed him as kind of a lazy, kind of do nothing, and then working late one night, lightning comes in and hits a case full of chemicals, and they spill all over Barry, and now he is given the gift of being able to move superhumanly fast.
Yeah, dude's quick.
Yeah, then you get into the whole Speed Force thing and what he can do with it, like rearrange his molecules and move through walls and then, all that good stuff, different things that come along with being able to run super fast. Was Barry the one that had the costume in the ring too?
Yes.
Yeah, so he hid his costume in a ring. How, you ask? It's comic book. Get over it.
Barry celebrated his celebrity as a superhero. There's a Flash museum. He was in the papers. I mean, unlike Batman brooding and was sort of a specter of the night, or Superman. Barry did like advertisements. At least the Barry Allen that I'm aware of. He was, and I'm grabbing a lot of this from what I remember of how he played in the Cartoon Network Justice League show. But that's how I knew him. That he was somebody who celebrated being a superhero and was celebrated for being a superhero. He had a rogues gallery that ran the course of being a mirror image of himself and Professor Zoom, Reverse Flash, to some of the more sillier ones like Captain Cold and Captain Boomerang. Love Captain.
Yeah, there is a lot of captains. I think Robert Winfrey actually did a rogues gallery of the Flash on Everyone Loves a Bad Guy at one point.
Yeah. As far as other powers, I mean, Ronnie pretty much got him. He can vibrate through walls. He can vibrate people and kill them if he wants to. He can create whirlwinds with it. He can throw speed energy at people, like throw lightning.
Some element of time travel as well.
Right.
Yeah, that's important as we get into this story. That's for sure. One thing I do want to throw in there, one of the biggest events in DC's history prior to this was Crisis on Infinite Earths. Happened in 1985. Barry actually sacrificed himself in that storyline, and he remained dead for over 20 years. We're coming into 2011, and Barry Allen's actually only been back in the comics for a little over 5 years, which is pretty crazy because he was, I can remember everybody wanted to come back. He actually sacrificed himself. He had a huge part in Crisis on Infinite Earths. Like I said, one of the biggest, and most likely, if you talk to a lot of people who read a lot of comics, they'll say it's probably one of the best crossovers, or I guess you should say, maxi series that's out there that DC has ever done. So here we are at the end of that universe with a story to tell called Flashpoint. Ronnie, did you ever read a lot of Flash Flash? I mean, it was that we've always talked about Marvel, but you ever picked up any stories about the Flash?
A little bit, not a whole lot.
Anything that sticks out in your mind?
Flashpoint.
Yeah, well, I don't blame you there. How about you, Mark? Any other Flash stories stick out to you before we hop into this one that you remember reading?
Growing up as a kid, I thought the Flash was a ridiculous character. Ooh, look, I run fast.
Well, yeah, I kind of never really saw the point in him as well because he could run really fast, but so could Superman. You know, you had superheroes that had infinitely cooler powers, such as Green Lantern, Martian Manhunter, the Superman, all these other guys that could do a lot more than Barry Allen, who could run really fast. And I think that's why they developed more he could do with his powers. Kind of like they developed more with Aquaman because Aquaman could breathe underwater and talk to fish. Mm-hmm. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
It's really interesting that Mark brought up that he celebrated his being a superhero because I think that's why he and Green Lantern got along together so well. Because they were both kind of hot shots.
Yeah.
When it came to show offs when it came to their superpower.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I never really saw the point in the Flash.
I gotta tell you guys, I mean, when you look at Superman aside, if you were to ask me which member of the Justice League I wanted to be, I would probably pick the Flash. Just because.
Really?
Yes. Because
did you run track when you were in high school?
Yeah. I blew up to 280 pounds. It was crazy.
God.
You can be any superhero you want. You could be Thor. You could be the Hulk, the Green Lantern, Superman. I want to run fast.
No.
That's my 3-year-old. That's
my
3-year-old thing.
If you're familiar with the television show, which I know you are, Mark, there are a multitude of things you can do without even being seen or getting things done in a timely fashion. Or there's so much you can do if you had the speed that the Flash has. There's no doubt in my mind. I don't want to be Batman. I don't care if Batman's cool or not. I'm not looking for street cred. I'm looking to
I don't want to
get
I don't want to be
up.
Batman. Like a rich guy with a bunch of weapons. You do. But how about Martian Manhunter?
No.
Superman.
Martian
as fast as the Flash.
Ronnie, go ahead.
I was going to say, you could do all that stuff and be Superman.
No, I said Superman aside. I understand what you're saying. But here's the thing, though. Superman has his drawbacks as well. I would say that, not being a native of this earth is probably one thing.
One thing is, two things that I can think of having a drawback as being Superman. Magic and finding an extremely rare rock that he is apparently allergic.
That's right.
So those are the two main drawbacks. Two things that aren't common. You can stop the Flash by putting nails on the floor.
No, you can't.
You can stop the Flash with a cold ray gun.
Oh, come on. Listen, if you look at that character, and you cannot sit there and tell me that what we see in the comics legitimately shows us what it would be like in real life if you had the powers of the Flash. You can't say that you're running so fast that you're going to slip and fall. You're going to be going.
I want to line these up. One character has ray vision, cold breath, can fly, has ridiculous super strength. One character runs fast. One character can make any physical object that he think of, and another character talks to fish.
Okay, all right.
Hey, Mark, where are you going with that banana peel? Oh, I'm going to go fight the Flash.
All right. Boy, I wish we had 1,000 listeners because, by golly, we'd be here right now.
Sorry to crap all over your childhood, Jesse.
Oh.
Come on.
Okay.
What I love about Jesse is that, like, Jesse in high school was like, boy, I wish I could run fast. I wish I was the Flash. And then somehow, like, as he became an adult, was like, fuck this world. I wish I was the Punisher.
That's true.
Well, here's the thing.
Go from I want to run fast to I want to murder people with a machine gun. I'm curious.
Dude, okay, how many times have you seen Superman go back in time by speed? I'm done arguing. We're going to Flashpoint. No.
How many times have I seen Superman make time go backwards by flying around the Earth backwards really fast? Once.
The worst ending ever. certainly
time.
Worse than Superman 3.
Oh, man.
Once. All right. I'm just going to say this. Superman 3 was an entire movie of him flying around the Earth flying backwards around the Earth.
No, it was. It's not an entire movie of him cheating in the ending.
Okay.
No, the only thing is that movie cheated everyone out of their money.
You cheated people out of their money. God damn it. Superman 3 is a cinematic masterpiece.
All right, Flashpoint.
Flashpoint, DC's 2011 epic Flashpoint. All right, so one of the things. No, there's one more.
I really get to hear Jesse being frustrated on his own show.
I wish I had the powers of the Hulk. Honestly, that's the collection of superpowers I want.
No, you don't want that.
Yes, I know. I want.
You do not want that.
Yes, I do. No, listen to what I'm saying. I want the strength enough to crack the planet and throw tanks, and I want to have the anger management issues of a crazy person. Okay, I want to have zero.
Why do you wish that upon yourself? I don't understand what goes on in your head to wish that upon yourself and your friends and family. There's no way.
Dude, if I had the powers of the Hulk, I wouldn't have friends and family. I would just
That's true. You would have, you wouldn't have much to worry about.
No, exactly. I mean, that was the thing with the Hulk. It's like, if someone really acted this way, no one would be around them. They would have nothing. So they had to come up with reasons for Betty to still be with him and to still, pine for him and everything. They had to have Rick Jones kind of, be there to humanize him. But in real life...
It's a sad existence. It's a sad existence.
Banner would have torn the planet in half in less than 5 minutes. That sounds like the dream.
He took down arguably one of the strongest characters in the Marvel universe, which is Doctor Strange, by crushing his hand. That's all he did. He shook his hand too hard.
A close second as far as characters I wish I could be with Thing. Retain my Brooklyn sensibilities, but be orange rock, and strong as an ox.
None of those end up good for you. Not a single one. Either you're responsible for the end of the earth, or you ain't getting laid, Mark. We'll just go ahead and put that right out there.
I'm 41 and I'm cancer. I'm not getting laid now.
Oh, she's like freaking nerd.
Oh, man. Flashpoint.
One of the big points that I wanted to make in regards to Barry Allen and, his upbringing as he came through to be the hero that he is the great tragedy that befell his mom. And one of the things that put him on the path to become a forensic scientist was the fact that his mom was murdered and his dad was, I don't say framed. His dad definitely didn't do it, but his dad was jailed for her murder. So Barry decided at a young age that he was going to become a forensic scientist to turn things around and try to prove his dad's innocence. That's important because that is the crux of this story tonight. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to bring up issues 1 and 2. I'm going to discuss those, I'm going to synopsis those two issues, and then I'll bring up a talking point. You guys are more than welcome to bring up whatever you want to do. Classic stuff here on source material. So issues 1 and 2. Now, Barry Allen, the Flash, awakes in the police station that he's been working at for quite a while and realizes that things are not what they should be in his world. Citizen Cold, Central City's greatest hero. How in the world that has happened, he has no idea. Clearly a play on Captain Cold here. There is no Superman in this world. There's no Justice League. And he finds all this out from his own mother, who is alive and well. She does relate to Barry that one of the names he mentioned she's heard of often, and that's Batman. So Barry's obviously confused as to what's going on. He doesn't know what's what, and he finds his mom and starts asking her questions. Number one, oh my gosh, can't believe you're alive. And number two, where is everybody? Where is everybody? So with the lead on Batman, he takes off to go and try and find him. Now
it's important to note at this point he doesn't have his speed.
Oh yes, that's right. He is not. He tries. He tries to rush off, and it's not there. There's nothing there. Now we cut to Batman as Cyborg approaches him with a request for him to help join a group of people. Now there's this group of people that appear that are in holograms, and there's a few that I recognize. Abin Sur being one of them. The Green Lantern that died and bestowed Hal Jordan the Green Lantern power. There's also Billy Batson. A few other characters that look absolutely strange. Now, he has tried to put this group together, so he's coming to Batman and says, hey, look, if you can join us, we can put the resources together to stop a dire threat that's going to potentially end the world. We find out that Aquaman and Wonder Woman are actually wanting to take over the world. They're not teaming up, though. These two are at odds, and there's been a war that's taking place and it's left a lot of casualties between the army of Themyscira and the Atlantean army. So here we have Aquaman and Wonder Woman fighting and leading their own troops to try and kill the other. We also see that the power of Shazam, or Captain Thunder, as he's called here, is split amongst some kids. And it's kind of weird. We got Billy Batson, and then we have Mary, I think, who is his sister, and then there's a few other ones. I think each one represents one of the letters in Shazam, which is, I can't even remember. I know one of them is Zeus, because that's the Z in Shazam, and Mercury and all this. But anyway, the power's split between all of them. And when they can actually all become Captain Thunder, if they all say Shazam, or one of them says Shazam, either way, Captain Marvel shows up, just like in our universe that we're used to. And he's clearly, Captain Marvel, Captain Thunder, has had his run-ins with Wonder Woman here, as we see in a few pages, or one of the pages where he's got a huge scar across his face. Well, at this time, Batman declines to join them and says, look, it's a suicide plan. You guys have no idea what you're doing. You're putting all these villains. They actually had some villains in there, and they're putting all these villains and heroes together, and it'll just all fall apart before they even could do anything. So Cyborg watches his plan just fall apart. Since the others see Batman say that he doesn't want to join, they fall out of the group as well. They're like, they don't believe it could actually succeed. Barry finally tracks down Batman by going to Wayne Manor, which is in a very bad state of disrepair. Heading to the Batcave, we soon find out that Batman is not Bruce Wayne, but in fact, Dr. Thomas Wayne, Bruce's father. In a strange twist of fate, the gunman killed Bruce instead of Thomas in that alley on that fateful night. Batman beats the crap out of Barry Allen until, in a fit of agony, Barry starts to have memories of the world he lives in now and comes to the assumption that the Reverse Flash, Thawne, Thawne.
Oh my God!
I broke myself. Eobard Thawne.
You are broken.
Is behind. So he thinks the Reverse Flash is behind what's going on here. How the world's all changed. Barry is able to convince Thomas Wayne to help him after explaining that Bruce Wayne, his son, was still alive in the other universe. Now, they are trying to figure out what they can do. And the first thing that they decide is they've got to try and get his speed back. All right. So Barry crudely replicates the experiment. And I wish I could explain this to you so you could see it, but it's like almost like a chair with an antenna going up into the middle of a thunderstorm, and he sets a bunch of chemicals. So this guy's either had it all figured out this whole time, what caused his speed force to happen. And he lines all these chemicals up, and this bolt of lightning, boom, comes on down and strikes the chair. And at the end of issue 2, after lightning strikes this chair that Barry Allen is sitting in, bursting the chemicals, it leaves Barry a burnt shell of a man, possibly clinging to life. That is our first 2 issues. Things have changed. Crazy stuff is going on here. Mark Radlich, what do you think of Thomas Wayne here?
It's supposed to be almost like a dark mirror image of Batman. The thing that makes Batman a hero is that he doesn't go over the edge. He has at least in the versions of the classic versions of Batman. Who the fuck knows days? But
yeah.
But
we're discussing like the end of what we used to know, and so much like people may not even know what things were prior to the New 52. It's crazy. Go ahead.
But the classic interpretation of Batman has been a paragon of justice, and this version of him is a Batman on one that's driven by rage, one that's driven by guilt. It is modern interpretations of Batman that have made him a brooding, sad sack of a hero who can't seem to get over the death of his parents. Classic version of Batman used that as the impetus to declare that he would not let Gotham fall in the ocean, and that he needed to be there to fight the good fight. As to what I thought of it, I think, look, every good story, your hero needs to have hurdles, and to have your first hurdle be to convince this nutcase that that this world is wrong and that you're here to fix it and restore things to the way that they should be. I thought was good. In general, I thought the story was good, but I thought the first hurdle being to ally with this angry, rage-fueled Batman was a good one.
There's a point, I think it's in issue 1, where we first see Batman, Thomas Wayne, where he's cornered some girl criminal, Yo-Yo, I think they were calling her, on this rooftop. He's got her, and he gets some information out of her, and then just promptly drops her off the rooftop. Doesn't try to save her or nothing. I mean, he's a killer, it seems like. Luckily, Cyborg was down there and saved her. Now, as to whether Batman knew he was there and that he would save him or not, I don't know. But he was kind of hedging his bets that he would, because I don't think he knew that for sure. But yeah, man, this Batman he's over the top. He's definitely gone. It's almost like, and I could understand, obviously you lose a kid or something like that. It's going to affect you greatly, especially to something like crime. And I think Cyborg even says you were on the hunt tonight because you drew her or forced her to this alley or in this section of town, which I assume is Crime Alley where Bruce and his mom got killed. But, Ronnie, what do you think of Thomas Wayne, the Batman?
Well, the first things first is if you need to figure something out in the DC universe and something's gone wonky, who do you go to?
Yeah.
You go to the world's greatest detective, you go to Batman. So that was a logical move in the plot. And you go to the guy that can help you possibly fix it or anything like that. You go to Batman. Mm-hmm. And then what a twist. It's not the Batman that we know. It's Thomas Wayne. And I thought that was fantastic as far as the way the rest of it, I was looking for another word other than twist. It was a fantastic twist in the plot. Mm-hmm. So to let you know, this is not, we know nothing that's going to happen. So
yeah, it's crazy to see Thomas and still takes up the mantle of the Batman, which is kind of crazy. You got to think about all those things that had to have happened in order for him to take up that mantle. And after reading this, I really had a Jones to go and grab some of the other tie-in titles, because there was a lot of like Emperor Aquaman. I remember seeing that one. So I bet you there's something out there that kind of gives us a clue, or if there was a story altogether for Thomas Wayne Batman. So,
my introduction to the Flashpoint was there was a DC animated feature, Flashpoint Paradox. Though my one criticism of this story is the same for the movie as it was the comic. I really didn't like that page 1, panel 1. We're already in this universe.
Oh, we're right there.
Now, I get that there's a big reveal at the end, and that's part of it, but it confused the fuck out of me. I mean, the movie's even worse, because the movie starts off with they're fighting somebody else, and then there's a transition, and suddenly he's at his desk and everything, and we go through that whole sequence. And I remember the first time I watched it, I'm like, wait, when did he go back in time?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, they never showed it.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. And then with this comic, I mean, they do a good enough job of explaining it, so I can't really complain that, they don't do enough to explain what's happened here. I mean, they basically say, hey, he's in an alternate universe. We don't know why or how it happened. And over time, he figures out this must be the work of Professor Zoom. And then, of course, there's the big reveal at the end that we'll talk about later as to exactly what happened. But I just, even with all of that, this is a personal thing in terms of storytelling. I found it a little dissatisfying. I liked the way it was handled on television, TV Party Tonight, but at the end of season 2, Zoom had just killed his father. He's lost his mom, he's lost dad. He's at the lowest point in his life, and he snaps basically and runs into the past, and that's where to end. And I understand that later on in the story they'll show him, through Zoom taunting him, that it was at the, but again, I would have liked there to have been that at the beginning.
Sure.
Just a little bit of anguish, at the gravesite. And then maybe the next panel is, meanwhile, behind the facade of this, something, just show me his anguish that made him commit such a terrible, terrible crime against time. And then show him waking up in the police. That's my only, real criticism.
All right. Well, let's flash forward to issues 3 and 4. So, in this horrible, agonizing state as Barry Allen lays there, it looks like he's, fried to a crisp. Barry Allen, again, somehow convinces Batman to put him back into the chair so that the electric bolt from the storm will hit him possibly again and he's trying to recreate it again. This guy won't stop. Gets struck by lightning, doused with chemicals, left like a burnt weenie. He's up and at it again. He's like, put me back in, coach. I've got to get this. So sure enough, another bolt of lightning comes down. Zap, boom, bang, Speed Force infused. The Flash is back. Now, over in London, England, Lois Lane, an agent embedded deep in the heart of the war zone between the Atlanteans and Themyscira. She's scrambling to find the resistance to find shelter, and luckily she does so. This resistance is led by none other than Grifter from the Wildcats. That's right, Ronnie Adams. Grifter.
Yeah.
Grifter makes an appearance. Look at that. I was all excited. But yeah, Lois Lane, the famous girlfriend, well, from previous Flashpoint, previous to Flashpoint, girlfriend of Superman. She's kind of like an agent that's been kind of over there, and she's got information that she needs to get to Cyborg and the rest of the heroes that has important stuff to do with this war. And luckily, the Resistance is there to help her out. Rekindled with the Speed Force, the power that gives the Flash his super speed. The Flash dons his suit and decides the next step will be to find Superman. Now, Batman doesn't know exactly who Superman is or what exactly that is, but he does know that if anybody would know, it would be Cyborg. He gets a meeting together and tells Cyborg, look, I've had a change of heart. I will join your resistance. I will join the other heroes that you've got together as long as you can do one thing to help us out. And that's tell us where this Superman could potentially be. Now, Cyborg has no idea what's going on. He doesn't know who Superman is. And Batman says, well, you may not, but the federal government does. So why don't you get to hacking so we can find Superman? Was there ever a Superman? And sure enough, we find out that there was a rocket that crashed into the Earth. Specifically, it crashed into Metropolis and killed 35,000 people. The U.S. government rushes in, takes the rocket, blames South America, and proceeds to invade South America. But they find something inside the rocket, and that's Subject 1. And Subject 1 happens to be confined in this government installation. So the next mission is find the installation and infiltrate it. So as Cyborg, the Flash, and Batman are sneaking into the base to find Project 1, they actually come across a cell that says Project 2, which I thought was pretty interesting. This was a neat little kind of like Easter egg in the book. And Project 2 is like this dog, but it's the skeleton of a dog. So whatever happened with Project 2, it didn't end well, which I assume is Crypto the dog. But finally, they find Superman. They find the cell that's holding Superman, open it up. He's been buried deep inside of this installation in this red room. They realize that he's just this, the reveal of Superman is just this scrawny-looking dude. And Batman and the Flash go over there to try and talk to him. Hey, look, we're getting you out of here. And he's like, okay. It's almost like he's underdeveloped. He's not like a kid, I would say. Imagine not being able to interact with society. So he's clearly been stunted. And he's Superman. Barry actually looks at him and believes he's never seen the sun. So once they get Superman outside, instead of helping them, which they plead for him to do, he flees. Superman flees by flying up into the sky, leaving Batman, the Flash, and Cyborg to deal with the formidable security team that's hot on their trail. But luckily, perhaps not by chance, Element Woman, which I think is a play on Metamorpho here, shows up to assist and rescues the team. Barry continues to have issues with remembering things that happen in this world, and he feels like they are replacing the memories from his own world. And Thomas Wayne is very concerned about this, that because here Barry Allen may soon forget his son Bruce. Now that they've lost Superman, well, what's the next step? Well, they decide, I think Barry Allen's Batman sedates him because he's just in this really agitated state. So they go and find the kids, the Marvel family, and the rest of the gang who are in this apartment. And they go and talk to him and I think Batman just surmises that since their power is derived by lightning, maybe somehow, some way they could maybe potentially help the Flash out. Billy walks over and unintentionally taps in and actually sees the original DC universe that Barry Allen is coming from. Soon after this, a news report is overheard describing how there were a bunch of jet fighters on their way to bomb Themyscira. but were ambushed by an invisible jet. And the first verified casualty is Hal Highball Jordan. Yes, that's right. The once Green Lantern from our universe, who never become Green Lantern over here in the Flashpoint universe, has died by the hands of Wonder Woman, or, well, we assume it's either a Wonder Woman or some of the Amazons. Barry then makes a plea to Batman saying that they must potentially fight in this world, as he does not believe that they are going to have the time to try and find out what the Reverse Flash potentially changed. So Barry Allen's figured that if the Reverse Flash went back in time, he's got to know what specific thing that he changed. And they aren't any closer to figuring that out. So he's come to the conclusion that, well, you know what? If I can't do that, I've got to stay here and fight for this world, because this world may be ending sooner than later. But here's the thing. Batman is not having any of that. He says he's not joining in their fight against the armies of Atlantis and Themyscira. But finally, Barry looks at him and tells Thomas, look, the Batman of my world, Bruce of my world, would have done things differently. And at that moment, Thomas Wayne changes his mind, and they decide to go and try to stop this war that is about to happen between the Amazons and the Atlanteans. Now, arriving in the UK, Captain Marvel immediately goes after Wonder Woman. Cyborg is determined he has to stop a weapon that is about to bring the island of the United Kingdom down into the ocean. And during the fray, Enchantress, who was on the side of the heroes at first, they bring her along with them, but she turns sides, becomes a heel, turns heel, and casts a spell that disperses the Marvel family from being Captain Thunder. And an Amazon, after this happens, ends up shortly coming up behind Billy Batson and killing him right in front of Flash. Now, Billy Batson's been around for a while. Captain Marvel's been around for a while. And the Flash just knows this and watches this Amazon, this thing, this person come up and kill this kid. Billy Batson's not an adult, folks. Billy Batson's like a 13, 14-year-old kid. And the Amazon just comes up and throws a sword right up through him. As he attempts to reconcile what just happened before his eyes, boom, the Reverse Flash then shows up, mockingly looks at Barry and says, look what you did. And that's the end of issue 4. So Flashpoint's not a fun place.
If there were two characters that were actually going to go to war with another, it would be Arthur Curry and Diana Prince, because all things aside, superhero aside, making fun of Aquaman aside, they are royalty, both princess and king. Pardon the terminology, but it's a pissing contest at this point.
Yeah. To
see who's more powerful and who's going to rule everything. It was really interesting to watch that, and man, this is a really cool concept, of how this would actually go down if it were to come about.
No, I think they had to create something big enough to where the world would be in a state where I would want to let it burn. I think there's no story if the world that they created is too comfortable and Barry doesn't want to leave it, being driven by the fact that the world's on the brink of total destruction.
Yeah. Ronnie, if you had a choice, which side would you be on? The Amazons or the Atlanteans?
Being a male, I don't think I would have had a choice. I have to go with the Atlanteans.
As I've said before, always respect your inner lesbian.
All right. Indeed. Man, one thing about this story is they kind of peppered in, I didn't cover a whole lot of it, but they did pepper in the motivations of both of these characters. And they're clearly at war with each other.
Yeah.
Well, the cartoon did a really good job of explaining flashback that Aquaman and Wonder Woman fucking and
or having an affair.
They was knocking the boot. And I guess Mira got jealous, and the Wonder Woman had a heart-to-heart with her by removing her head from her shoulders.
Oh, yeah.
And then Mira got dead.
One of the alternate covers of, like, issue 3 or issue 4 is Wonder Woman holding up Mira's head. I mean, it's just, so I'm like, oh, my gosh, what happened here? But I did not know that they were having an affair. I could tell there was something at one point in their past, but I didn't know if this happened prior to Mira or with.
Yeah, they made peace, and then Aquaman gave her his.
No, boom, goes the dynamite.
And the crowd goes,
What I'm trying to tell you is that Aquaman fed her his lobster.
No,
okay.
You have to stop this.
Gave her the crabs?
He did.
No.
He did give her the crabs.
Jesse.
Oh, man. And what's even more messed up is the fact that she wears, like, Mara's helmet on her head or crown. I mean, these two have some bad blood between them.
Yeah. Aquaman and, slapped her in the face with dead salmon.
Wrong with you all.
Oh, my gosh. And I think, when I was reading this the first time, I remember sitting there thinking, well, they're going to definitely make me feel for one side. The one thing that happens in this, I think it's in issue 4 at the beginning, where there's this boat that ends up crossing into Paris, which, by the way, Paris has been laid to waste due to a tidal wave caused by the Atlanteans. This boat travels in there, and I think it's got Deathstroke and a couple other people that's on this boat. And Aquaman shows up, and they realize they made a mistake. We shouldn't be here. And Aquaman shows up, and it's not like he just looks at him and says, oh, okay, you guys go ahead and you just got to turn around and go back. No, he kills them all. This isn't the old goody two-shoes Aquaman that we're used to. This is a king. This is an emperor for sure, who is... he's got one thing in mind, and that's to eliminate the Amazons and take over the world.
I thought he had one thing in mind, and that was banging Amazon.
Well, do you see what that brings? It brings war, sir.
Well, Mira should have been okay with it. I mean, if Mira had been polyamorous, none of this would have ever happened.
Oh, here we go. Check back in the archives for a conversation completely unrelated to the comic we were talking about.
So let me bring up a relevant point. So the comic doesn't do a very good job of explaining exactly why the Atlanteans and the Themyscirans are fighting. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming because this was a 97 issue crossover event.
Yes, that's got to be what it is, because it's got to be told in some of the other books.
Yeah, because it's in the movie. There's an elongated flashback sequence that explains the whole thing. And I actually thought the movie did a really good job of telling the complete story, where this doesn't, because they want you to spend $1 million on others.
You want to fault DC for something like that, but if you're a company and you do with what works and what makes you money. I think
if you're like me and you're going into this cold and you haven't seen the Flashpoint Paradox, it's a flaw in the story. You have no idea again why Aquaman and Wonder Woman are fighting.
I wonder if DC made a specific point not to shill the other stuff. It used to be back in the 90s. Even in the 80s, if something like that happened, you had a little editor's note down there in the bottom of the panel. Check out so-and-so issue 3 for more information as to why she wants to, take his head off his shoulders. That would have been rife in this book, but they didn't do that. You don't see that, at least in the issues that I have. So I guess DC is making small steps in kind of not waving it in front of your customer base that they're trying to get as much money out of you as they can. As to whether it's essential to the story, I don't know. I mean, if you're just wanting to tell the story of Barry Allen having to deal, Mark, you gotta think that you identify with Barry Allen and his confusion. Even in those your own shoes, Barry Allen has no idea what the heck's going on, and he's learning this all through what we see. So
I guess it's like Ripley's daughter. It doesn't necessarily add story. It's a matter of fact.
Yes.
The world is at war. Atlanteans and Themyscirans are killing one another and are devastating the human race in the process. And Barry needs to fix it before it becomes permanent.
Yeah.
So I get that, but I still like.
I hear you. Well, all right. Well, unless there's anything else, boys, we'll go ahead and hit issue 5. All right. So issue 5, the finale of Flashpoint. The Reverse Flash and our hero Barry Allen square off. Remember, in the end of the 4th issue, Professor Zoom shows up and says, look what you did. So in our 5th issue, they're squaring off. We get into a good fight. And during the fight, Airbird,
Larry Bird,
Ichabod.
The Reverse Flash reminds Barry that it was not he who changed the future, but Barry himself. I should say changed the past. We find out that Barry, in a state of despair, after realizing that the Reverse Flash was responsible for his mother's death, went back in time and changed the future by stopping the Reverse Flash from killing his mother. Now, this caused a chain of events. The timeline skewed into this tangent, causing time to change, and Barry is responsible for every bit of it. Now, the Reverse Flash is about to kill Barry when our own Dr. Wayne, Batman, saves him with an Amazon sword through the chest of the Reverse Flash. At this time, do we have time to breathe? Not really, because all hell then breaks loose when the Resistance shows up, Gorilla Grodd and his crew show up, along with finally a returning, screaming through the air, Superman shows up and decks both Wonder Woman and Aquaman right in the jaw. And now it's on. The final war is going down. Now Thomas Wayne is taken out by this blast from the Enchantress. Boy, this lady, I don't know what her deal is. This is one I'd like to kind of explore in the books as to what her problem is. But anyway, she takes
Bitches
out.
be crazy.
Simple enough. That was in the panel at the bottom. Editor's note: bitches be crazy.
And shopping.
Jeez.
Okay. So Thomas Wayne's taken out by this blast by the Enchantress, and with his dying breaths, asked Barry to run away, and he does so straight to his mom's house, where after talking with her for a few minutes, she makes Barry realize that her own life for millions of lives is not right. Now, Barry gets the opportunity to say goodbye before making the decision to go and try to correct his own mistake. He speeds back and intercepts his younger self on the cosmic treadmill, heading towards that fateful journey to stop the Reverse Flash, and this time, he instead stops himself from creating the Flashpoint universe. And Krakoon! We are then treated to Barry running through. I think what they describe this as that the two Barrys merged together. And as Barry continues to run, there's this like hooded female figure who is talking to Barry as he is running through time. Now, one of the important things that she says is that this hero's universe was split into three a long time ago. And it was splintered to weaken your world for their impending arrival. That sounds pretty ominous. We have no idea what that means, but what we are to understand is that now with this being done, these three timelines have now merged. Now, the three timelines that they're talking about are the DC universe that we're used to prior to Flashpoint, the Vertigo universe, which held a lot of Constantine, a lot of other different titles, Sandman, Neil Gaiman's Sandman, more of the mature reader stuff that DC had.
Was something Vertigo, or was it straight DC?
I think there are some tales that were told in that universe with Swamp Thing, because I think he's pictured in that reveal in that universe. Along with the regular DC universe as well. And the third universe being my favorite universe, the Wildstorm universe. That's right. Wildcats and all them fun characters from there. But anyway, now we're bringing them into one. Now, Barry soon awakes, much like he did in the first issue, but comes to the conclusion that everything is feels back to normal, okay? He's got his speed. He definitely wakes up. He's got the speed force. He immediately rushes to go see Batman. While talking to Batman, he tells him the tale of what happened, all of what happened in the Flashpoint universe. And he realizes now that he actually can remember every moment that he had with his mother from the Flashpoint universe. And Batman mentions and says, hey, look, even though you can't figure out why you still have those memories, think of it as a gift. You know, these are memories you have with your mom that you never had before. At that time, Barry reaches into his pocket and pulls out a note. Batman grabs it, opens it up, takes his mask off, and begins to cry. And we find out that it is a note that Thomas Wayne from the Flashpoint universe wrote to his son. And these are the words from his, dead father that he's reading. He's very moved and says, "You're a hell of a messenger, Barry." That's the end. That's pretty much it. That's the end of Flashpoint. So, Mark, what do you think, man?
A little anticlimactic with the way Eobard Thawne dies, being stabbed in the back by Batman. So I remember reading that and just like, oh, okay. So after a few pages of exposition provided by him, it was like, well, now that you've given us all the exposition, we'll just stab you in the back and get rid of it. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Overall, other than the stupid stabbing, which is like way anticlimactic, the way the issue ended, I like the fact that, Barry was the villain throughout this whole thing because, because of his internal weakness and, and inability to handle his mom's death. I really don't have much else to say. The movie ends the same way. He stops himself from doing it. I thought the television show handled it best, and we'll talk about that tomorrow.
Okay.
The themes and the general idea ideas of what they're doing here, I thought it was best handled the CW Arrowverse show. One of the big things that keeps getting brought up early on in Flashpoint, Joker, a couple times Batman's just sort of single-mindedly obsessed with who the Joker is. Now, do you know who the Joker is? Because in the movie, they actually show you through flashback what all happened with the Wayne family.
I don't know. I can look it up real quick.
The Joker is Martha Wayne.
What?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Now, are we saying Martha? We're saying Martha Wayne.
Yeah, Batman's mom.
Yeah, Batman's mom.
Okay, hold on. All right.
Otherwise known in the cinematic
Martha.
universe as Martha.
You're killing Martha. Save
Why
Martha.
did you say that name?
Did
All
we
right.
just become best friends?
DC Wikia. In the original timeline, she and Thomas got shot by Joe Chill when the Wayne family decides to cut through an alleyway. This was changed when the Flash created a temporal boom when running back in time to save his mother. In the new timeline, her son Bruce was shot and killed instead of her and Thomas. This, seeing her son die in front of her, twisted and broke her mind, leading her to become the Joker of this timeline. She, with the assistance of her sidekick Yo-Yo, the one that we mentioned earlier that Thomas Wayne dropped from a freaking building, kidnapped Judge Harvey Dent and was holding him in their funhouse. This timeline is eventually erased when the Flash managed to go back in time and stop his past self. So I did not know that. That's crazy. They have her listed here as Martha Kane. Did she change her last name?
No, her maiden name is Kane.
Oh, okay. All right. Gotcha.
I really would suggest watching the DC animated feature, The Flashpoint Paradox.
It is one of the few that I've heard they've done well, because I've heard they've done some ones that really suck. But I've heard a lot of people say that Flashpoint was decent. So
I would say better than average. Most of them, most of the animated ones are very, very good.
okay. All right. Well, okay, Ronnie Adams, anything you'd like to discuss on this fifth and final issue of Flashpoint? It all changes here, my friend.
Quick ending, kind of a easy ending, to be honest with you. Like you said, or like Mark said, just okay, I've explained everything that happened now. Oh, I'm stabbed. But it was, how else do you end it though, to be honest with you? But that's why I'm not writing for any comic book companies.
Yeah.
Reverse Flash shoes get untied, trips, and he breaks his neck.
You guys, man.
Thomas Wayne actually eats a banana and leaves the peel laying around.
I swear to
And
goodness.
slips and breaks his leg.
Reverse Flash turns out has asthma.
Gets real winded.
Can't find his inhaler.
Oh, man.
Oh, Lord.
I really do feel like I'm going to have to put a call to the army out there, the source material army, and say, okay, guys, who would you rather be?
You can pick any set of powers. No one's in the Flash under the age of 5.
Bull. All right, Ronnie, what else? Anything else?
No, I agree with him. Nobody's picking the Flash.
Oh, my God. Call to order. Source material. I call to order. I call to order the court. All right. Okay. So,
But anyway,
all right.
No, nothing else to add. It was an excellent read.
Jeff Johns, man, I can tell you this guy writes a great story. I think I've mentioned it many a times. Get your shot glasses ready. I read In Darkest Night, and it gave me nightmares. Jeff Johns can pin a tale. Okay, Mark, give us your rating here. Writing and art.
4 out of 5 stars.
For both?
Yeah.
Okay.
The art's great. The art's perfectly fine. It's not confusing. It's not so stylized that it's Jackson Pollock painting. It's fine. The storyline, like I said, I've already talked about some of the deficits of the story, but they're not. But the story in and of itself is good enough that it overcomes those deficits. So 4 out of 5 stars.
Okay. I absolutely love this story. I thought it was a great story. If you throw time travel in anything, I'm a big fan, especially alternate universes. If I can see, I'll usually watch any movie that has that in there. I'll usually read just about any story if I can that has that plot point in there. I love it. It's one of my favorite things. And I think that's honestly why, Flashpoint speaks to me because we have Barry Allen, who's this confused person thrown into this world. He has no idea what's going on. He's got to try and figure out who or what is at the heart of this world that's totally gone wrong. And then we find out that he finds out that it's himself. Imagine trying to have to deal with that and try to figure out what to do there. And he has to make a sacrifice. It's a great story. Ronnie, what do you got to say about it?
I'm gonna give it a 4.5 on writing, probably a 5 on art. Beautiful art.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that I didn't really jive on in writing is the ending, but it was still good. I mean, don't get me wrong, but 4.5 and a 5.
All right, very good. Well, that brings to a conclusion our coverage here on source material for Flashpoint, a great and pivotal story in the DC universe. So I would suggest anybody out there that has the opportunity to do so, grab it, read it. You're going to at least have an idea of what things were, or how things ended, I guess I should say here. Let's go ahead. We'll get into plugs here. Mark, we'll turn it over to you first, man. What do you got to plug?
All right. Depending on when you're listening to this, if you're listening to this live, tomorrow night on Damn You Hollywood is our review of Wonder Woman. And if you're listening to this, goes up on the Rattlevision Broadcasting Network last week on Damn You Hollywood, we reviewed Wonder Woman. We stuck mostly to reviewing the film and left the politics out of it because I can stand it. On the Metal Hammer of Doom, we reviewed Dream Evil. And I just got back with Sean. We are definitely doing an on trial this week for Superman Returns.
All right. Good to hear that's coming back.
If you're listening to this, like I said, when it goes up on the Rattlevision Broadcasting Network, then tomorrow on TV Party Night, myself, Ronnie, Adam, theoretically Josh Calandros, are going to be discussing the Arrowverse Flash television show 3, subtitled Flashpoint.
All right, good enough. Ronnie Adams from the Screaming Boy Podcast. Well, what do you got to plug?
So we're taking a brief hiatus right now as far as recording, which is good because we probably need one just to get our poop in a group. But we did have, and we as long as Mark is okay with that, we will have every once in a while have a live show on Friday nights on the Radio Religion Broadcasting Network. Like we just did this past night.
Mm-hmm.
And we were on Pirates Week on the Radio Religion Broadcasting Network, which I also did TV Party Tonight with the great Mark Radulich. We did Black Sails. So we talked about pirates, just anything, the whole culture, the pirate movies, pirate video games, which I honestly think Assassin's Creed Black Flag is the best Assassin's Creed game out there, and one of the best games. I could still put it in and play it today and love every minute of it. But so we talked about that, why pirates are better than ninjas. I was outnumbered 3-1.
Did you raise your general level of confusion by a bucket of chicken?
No, I didn't, but I should have. I was outnumbered by Jesse, Adam, and Pat, who joined us via phone call. Pat Mullen was an incredible guest to have on.
Did anyone do a rousing rendition of Pirates, Pens, and Ants?
No, but it was mentioned. So Pirates of Pens and Ants was mentioned. Lord have mercy, I can't even talk.
The very model of a modern major general.
And it was definitely a off the rails show, a lot of fun. So catch that right here on the Radio Religion Broadcasting Network. And I tell you what, it's been it was a heck of a show. It was I can't stop thinking about it and how I'll probably Sans podcast career now.
Whoa!
No, I'm kidding. It wasn't bad. But no, we thank you, Pat, for coming on. If you're listening, or if you get a chance to listen to this. Other than that, I mean, source material, TV Party Night, and then all the other shows that are on here that are fantastic. At Screaming Boy PR is Twitter, Screaming Boy Podcast on Instagram, Screaming Boy Podcast on Facebook. If you have anything to tell us or agree with us, info@screamingboy.com. That's the email address.
Also, if you have any flash fiction of Aquaman banging Wonder Woman, if you'd like to read on the Screaming Boy Podcast,
Mark, I would rather that not ever happen.
We want as many fish and crustacean references as possible, though. That has to be at least 10 before it gets past
if someone has any slash fiction of Aquaman fucking Wonder Woman at Red Lobster, please send it to Ronnie Adams.
Oh, jeez.
The rolls were delicious.
And Wonder Woman's face was slammed in the cheddar bit.
Oh, cheddar. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't done so already, make sure.
Bad people.
Make sure to go give that Rattleitch Broadcasting Network Facebook page a like to stay up on top of all the great podcasts that we have to offer here. As for source material, you can follow me at SourceMacCast. I'm Jesse Starcher. I host this show. You can find me at Stiznarkey on Twitter if you do so wish. Upcoming on source material, I think we mentioned we're going to be talking Poison Ivy, Cycle of Life and Death. Also, soon after that, we're going to tie in with some Transformer stuff, and we're going to talk IDW's Revolution. I can't wait to talk about that. That's going to be a lot of fun. But if you guys are interested in stuff like that, keep your ear tuned for source material coming up in the next couple weeks. Listen, if you go to the Rattleitch Broadcasting Network Facebook page, you can find the pinned link there to a snazzy shirt. Fight Rattleitch Fight. It's at represent.com/Fight Rattleitch Fight. You can purchase yourself a shirt and throw some money to our patriarch and his battle with cancer. So do not
More importantly, go to napalmrecords.com and pick yourself up a snazzy fuck with an anchor t-shirt.
Oh yes, those are nice. Those are nice. That speaks volumes.
What we're saying, we're not sure, but it does speak volumes.
All right. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for joining us. We'll be catching you sometime later here, probably next week. Have a good one.
And this is the great part, because what Cyborg does is Cyborg finagles his way into Wheat King Incorporated and with a case of alcohol, and he has to use 2 keys in order to hack.
This is not
Oh my god, it was awful. What would you do that, Mark?
I was like, wait a second, I don't remember this happening in the issue.
Cyborg is drunk, you understand, and he's trying to hack through the Vulcan weather satellite.
Mark Rattleitch.
Jeez, at the same time.
Mark Rattleitch. No, negative. Cyborg.
It would have made the comic infinitely better if he had.
Oh, you're incorrect again. Cyborg is able to hack the government system.
Could you imagine if, like, in a real-life version of this, Cyborg was played by Rick Pryor?
Oh my gosh, that would be hilarious. There would be no stopping it. And then, as it miraculously, spectacularly failed, the DC's version of Flashpoint with Richard Pryor and freaking what's his name, Gene Wilder. He plays what's he going to play? Dr. Thomas Wayne,
Superman.
Oh, so of course they open it up. There's Superman, wiry old Gene Wilder.
I want the Justice League casted with Rich Pryor, Gene Wilder. Oh god. You know, okay, so for Batman, we need what's Jew director's name?
Mel Brooks. Did you really just call him Jew director?
Yeah. What's the one that like married his daughter?
It's got to be. He's talking about Mel Brooks, right?
Yeah.
No, not Mel Brooks. Mel Brooks didn't marry his like Chinese daughter.
Oh, wait a second. Woody Allen?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
I think this is a spectacular. Estelle Getty as.
I wish I could do impressions. I really
do.
do.
Getty. Wow.
Or B. Arthur. Maybe B. Arthur would be better.
B. Arthur. Oh my gosh.
B. Arthur's Wonder Woman?
Mel Brooks.
B. Arthur's Wonder Woman. Oh my gosh.
Yes, Mel Brooks, Green Lantern. This is a Justice League I can get behind.
Oh, yeah. My gosh. Honestly, if we get to have some impressions, anybody out there, if they listen to this, has a good impression and like can do Woody Allen doing, quoting Batman or something. Oh, I would love it. I would love it.
Hello, Claw. I've always known that you were going to turn on the human race clock.
God.
Oh, wow.
Claw, I have a question. Do you bleed? Do you bleed, Clock? Oh, do you bleed? Have you met Swing?
Oh my gosh.
Holy crap.
Man.
Once upon a time, there was a new crossover that refused to play by the rules. It flipped the script and made all the others look like fools. Featuring styling that's sexier by far and handles like a rock star. Introducing the first ever Toyota CHR.
Enjoy agile handling in the body of a seductive crossover that comes with standard 18-inch alloy wheels. The first ever Toyota CHR, the perfect ride to spin your own tail. Toyota, let's go places.